You're listening to Girls with Grafts, a burn community podcast created by Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, a leading nonprofit dedicated to supporting the burn community. In this podcast, we'll talk with burn survivors, share resources to help with supporting and improving burn recovery, and discuss how to prevent burn injuries. Here are your hosts, burn survivors and Phoenix Society's marketing team, Amber Wilcox and Rachel Kudlak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Girls with Grafts. I am Rachel Kudlak. I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. Today, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Amber Wilcox.
Hi there. I'm really excited that we are having like kind of a about us episode today. So today we have no guests. I know that we are going to just talk kind of you and I. We do this, or we try to do this once a season where we have a chance to catch up on what's going on in our burn stories. And then, we kind of also just talk about Girls with Grafts and all the different things that are going on in the world of burns. So without further ado, I will have you read today's podcast sponsor.
Yes, so today's podcast is powered by Summit Fire and Security. Summit Fire and Security is your trusted partner for all of your fire protection and life safety needs. From fire extinguishers and alarms to security systems, suppression solutions, and special hazard protection, Summit Fire and Security supports you at every stage, from design and installation to ongoing maintenance and inspections. And you can learn more about them by visiting summitfiresecurity.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit. So we're going to start, I guess today's podcast is going to be interesting. We're going to start we've talked about our burn stories before, and actually someone, I'll get into this later, but I've had a chance to connect with Orlando Health again. And the writer I spoke with at Orlando Health said he had a chance to watch that episode. So we can also link that episode in our show notes if you haven't watched that, and we can do a brief overview today, because I think a lot of folks that are listening to the show probably are aware of what our stories are, but let's also, let's talk a little bit about our burn stories, but we don't have to get into crazy detail today.
Yes, no. So like Amber mentioned at the beginning, we always try and do some catch up each season where it's just us, and we'll definitely link that episode below. But for our new listeners as well, I am a childhood burn survivor. So I know Amber will share her story in a moment, but one thing I love about, both of our stories is that they are much different from one another, which can really bring great perspectives to the show. But yeah, I was 3 years old when I was in a house fire at my babysitter's house. And I suffered second and third degree burns on over 30% of my body. And I always love to kind of share, from that, obviously growing up every year, every summer break, I was back in the hospital. I went to Shriners, Boston. So shout out to all the Shriners hospitals out there, but they made a huge difference for me and my family growing up. And then, like I was saying, I love to share kind of how I got connected to Phoenix Society. So right after I was injured, literally like a year and a half later, I started attending a summer camp for children burn survivors that was founded by Alan Breslaw. And for those who don't know, Alan had also founded Phoenix Society. So just kind of crazy how the world has all come around full circle for me. And now I'm here sharing my story kind of on behalf of Phoenix Society and doing this podcast with you. So
Awesome.
That was kind of a really quick snippet of my story.
It's okay. Yeah. For those that are listening, whether you're a child burn survivor, I know we have a wide range of folks that listen to the show. So it's always helpful for them to understand the context of where we're coming from, because everyone has a different perspective. So my burn story, mine happened in the pandemic. Rachel and I were just talking before this podcast. It occurred to me that I'm celebrating 5 years post-injury, which the pandemic doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But yeah, so I was burned at the beginning of the pandemic. So right when everything had started to shut down, everyone was, I think, in that like pre-pandemic phase of getting, we're going to shelter in place for a little bit. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but we're all going to kind of just have fun in our households, right? And have these like inside parties. And so my husband and I had decided we were going to do some baking. For those of you that know the Food Network, my husband and I are huge Food Network fans, specifically the baking championships. And actually the spring baking championship is back around this year too. So it always reminds me, but we were watching the spring baking championship. We love to kind of get inspired. And I said, well, I can do that. I feel like a sweet treat tonight. We're going to make something. And so I'd always seen them make hot caramel in all of the episodes. I said, I can do that. Just throw some sugar in a pan and stir it up. I had started to do that, and the instructions I was reading at the time said to put it in a glass baking dish, but at no point in time did I think that glass could shatter or did it come to my mind. And I think a lot of us don't really, we're distracted by other things. We're looking at our phones, whatnot. And I happened to pour the caramel in a glass baking dish where it sizzled for a moment and then exploded. I spent about a week in Orlando Health for 20% burns on my hands and both thighs. And to date, I've had 2 skin graft surgeries and 7 laser reconstruction surgeries, and I'm done. I stopped. I made the personal decision to stop trying to reconstruct anything. I did actually just a couple weeks ago go to the dermatologist, and my burn actually center recommended to go follow up with dermatologists every year. Get your regular skin checks if you haven't, because we're more susceptible to skin cancer. So I do have a dermatologist that I like, and she actually gave me a steroid injection into my graft. Just this past month, and it seems to have helped out a little bit more. And she's open to doing more. So just doing some regular kind of checks with her. And then the steroid was a lot less invasive than when I went to Tampa Gen. It was more topical, and I didn't have to go under anesthesia. So I walked into her office, she did a skin check, and it was like, boop, 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 and it was done. So much better.
What is the goal of getting that done?
So I still have some heavy keloids on the part of my graft area that I had the yoga shorts on. So I was wearing yoga shorts at the time of the incident, and the caramel spilled on the shorts, but then the rest of my legs, but the brunt of the burn hit where the yoga shirts were. And so I have a really big keloid that always snags on like the worst things. Like the one thing it snags on the most are like the kitchen, like the kitchen drawers, you get those, like anytime you're walking by it, like hits it because of just the keloid there. And so the Kudlak injections they do at the dermatology's office is will hopefully like break up some of that rough tissue and like be able to flatten it a little bit. I've had, like I said, 7 to date, plus that one at the dermatologist, and I've seen some improvement. It doesn't make it go away, but it does help. And they also recommended a scar gel that I hadn't used yet, so I'm going to start on that as well. But if anything else, I think it's important to get your regular yearly skin checks as a reminder, especially as a survivor, because you never know.
For sure.
Anyway, that said, our Burnaversaries are coming up, which is why we do this episode as a reminder. Yours is today, so happy Burnaversary. What are you doing to celebrate your Burnaversary this year?
Well, aside from recording this awesome podcast with you, I'm not really doing much. I normally make Brett, and this is like my answer every year. My husband, Brett, I thought
you said make bread at first, and I was like, well, good for you. I love bread. Make bread. Okay.
I make Brett either take me out to dinner or make me something good at home. I know I had shared like I said, in that other podcast about one time when he made it at home and the night turned into a disaster. But aside from that, this year, he is making me steak for dinner with twice baked potatoes. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, I normally am the chef in the house. So it's also nice that I can just sit on the couch while he makes it all, even though, it's funny men, I'm going to stereotype for a second. When you guys go in the kitchen and make dinner, after dinner, it's a mess. Things are everywhere. Nothing's cleaned up. When I'm cooking, I have a process. I'm cleaning as I'm preparing. So I already know it's going to be a mess to clean up, but maybe I'll get out of that too. Since
maybe it'll taste good in the process.
Yeah, I can pull my Burnaversary
I
card.
am
So
not the chef in our house, so I automatically have to clean up because I am normally the one sitting on the couch doing nothing after hours. So I'll clean, right? I do a lot of cleaning and I have my own chores, but I don't like cooking. So, and I don't think that was like, I don't mind baking and, hence the burn injury, but I like baking cookies and things like that, but I don't like making food. So the faster, the better, especially I think it's gotten worse since I've had a son. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is make food.
I know. I made a casserole the other week and I wasn't home. So I was like, Brett, make sure you get it out. Start at this time, temperature, directions, all this. He's like, I did that so much as a kid. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure once we have children, we will be eating lots of casseroles and once they're of age, putting them in the oven for
Yeah, whatever is the fastest and easiest, because I just don't, after a long day, you're like, the last thing I want to do is make food for myself. So, and usually I'm the like bedtime parent. So, I'm like, if I have to go in that room for 40 minutes, then you have to be cleaning or cooking out here. So we have a good system going.
Yeah, no. Well, I think I'll always be, I do like decompressing sometimes by cooking because I'll put I'll put a podcast on and just chop, clean, do whatever. And it does kind of like decompress me. So,
although my latest, and we haven't talked about this, and I know we're going to get into this, Wednesday nights at 8:00 is my son's bedtime. So lately I have the like AirPod in one ear. The phone is like hiding so he can't see it, but I like have to listen to the first few minutes while I still try to get him to sleep. So I like secret survivor listen and watch. So sometimes I'll have to throw on like a reality TV show just to like not fall asleep in the bedroom with him. So there you go.
I go to bed very early, so I can see that in my future as well. I'll be asleep.
I'll nod off sometimes. Yeah. It happens to the best of us.
Yep. Well, I know your Burnaversary is also right around the corner in a few days. What are you doing for your anniversary this year?
Well, there's a mixed answer to that question. Physically doing that day, I don't know. But my husband and I actually, I had this idea, and my husband is always the one that like, I'm the one with the big ideas. If you ever watch like Chip and Joanna Gaines, I'm always like the one that like wants to do all these crazy things. And my husband's the one that like either talks me off the ledge or is like, okay, you have to be realistic about it. So I saw this fundraiser, couple years ago, and I've like wanted to do it ever since, but I thought this would be the perfect time. So my husband and I are both going to play the Easter Bunny for our neighborhood community on Easter, but we're accepting like donations and folks to like apply to do it. So basically what we do is people can buy Easter eggs from us, like pre-filled Easter eggs, and then we will go egg their yard. So we're doing an Egg My Yard fundraiser. And the proceeds we're going to give to the Phoenix Society. So we are accepting like folks in the community that want us to egg their yard for their kids. And then the night before Easter, we're going to go around to our community and like hide eggs all over the community. And so I was like, I want to do something special. We should, do it in honor of my Burnaversary. And then all the proceeds are going to go to the Phoenix Society. So we're calling it, I think it's extinguish something like we made it like a fire related pun and said like, and then spark hope. And so, yeah, we're excited. It'll be a fun way to like commemorate, but also I've been wanting to do like a fundraiser like this for a while. And I love like the magic in the holidays. So I think it'll be fun. Like we're going to go around to the different houses. We already got a couple of signups. We just opened it up in our community. And if it takes off, we'll have quite a few. If not, we will still have some fun. And so we've already, like I said, gotten some. So my mom is actually coming into town because my husband said to me, I am not filling 1,000 eggs if you get like 100 houses. So we are going to be filling eggs and then, donating to the Phoenix Society. So hopefully it goes well. It'll be our first year doing it, but I thought it was a good way to commemorate especially because it was around a time of the year that was, spring and Easter and fun. So we're going to turn all of that like energy into something positive for the community.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean,
Yeah,
love that, you're raising funds for Phoenix Society, but the thought of you guys filling all these eggs and going around and just placing them in the yards is so fun.
Yep, they get a note from the Easter Bunny too, so we'll make a cute little note, and hopefully there are lots of kids that will enjoy surprises from the Easter Bunny on Easter morning. So we're excited. We're gonna do it for my son too. My son loves Hot Wheels, like is obsessed with Hot Wheels these days. So my husband and I have plans on filling like a bunch of eggs with Hot Wheels so he can like go around and pick them up. But yeah, I always loved, like my mom always made holidays so magical when I was a kid, and like that's my favorite part of like being a parent now. And so I was like, what can we do? Like I saw somebody post the fundraiser a couple of years ago and I was like, I want to do this. And so my husband's like, fine, you can do it, but and like here are the stipulations. So yeah, we put it together. And so on the physical day, I don't know because my Burnaversaries on the 4th and Easter is not until the 20th, but we're accepting like the donations and the orders for people until the 4th. So I'll have an estimate of how many houses we're gonna egg the night of my Burnaversary.
And hey, good thing it's like the fillable eggs, because the prices of eggs, imagine if you were actually using real eggs, you'd probably lose money.
It's a fun name. Like I saw like, a lot of people call it Egg My Yard, and it's like a big thing in our area, probably because it's still nice. Like I guess there's some crappy weather in other areas of the country, but yes, so we're gonna go egg some yards.
I love it. You'll have to send me photos when you do it, but also the info. I might have to sign Brett up for that next year.
Okay. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. And like, it's like a nice opportunity to do something cool for the community for a good cause. So.
Well, and you're making the lives of other parents easier because you're doing the hard work with the eggs. So, and they get to feel good by making a donation. So it's a win-win for everyone.
My husband was like, you do know you have a toddler. I'm like, yes, but I always need like a passion project. I'm always the one that's like doing something fun. And I was like, I wanted to do something special for my 5-year. And, I've done the massages. We've done different things, but this will be something fun to just take the magic and put it into something fun. So
for sure.
Here's hoping. So cross your fingers that I get a lot of orders because I want to fill 1,000 eggs. My husband does not.
1,000 is sure a lot, but good thing you are closing it. Like you'll have like 2-3 weeks in between.
Oh yeah. I like pre-planned this and was like, I made a spreadsheet because my husband's like, you gotta do a spreadsheet.
Organized. Yeah.
Yes. You gotta be organized with this. So we're very organized. We're ready to go. But yes, it's one of those things that you like, it has the potential to be like, there could be eggs all over my room. So if you're seeing eggs in the background over the next couple of weeks, you'll know why.
You just see pile-ups of eggs. That's funny. That's awesome.
All right.
Well, I also want to talk about too, I know you slightly mentioned Orlando Health a little bit at the beginning, but Burn Awareness Week wasn't that long ago, and you were at Orlando Health. And I know you've been involved with them. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I am a SOAR volunteer for them, and we do virtual. So there's a couple of us that will do virtual, but we also will go in person occasionally. But we do have a really I had an awesome opportunity to go out in honor of Burn Awareness Week to talk a lot about kind of fire safety and fire prevention. We had a bunch of the news media come out, and there was actually quite a bit of coverage on Burn Awareness Week for different safety tips. So super exciting, but they're also going to be doing a story. So I had the chance to meet with a writer and have a conversation about my burn injury. So our hope is to raise some more awareness, especially, Burn Awareness Week this year was focused on, house safety. Specifically, I had a lot of kitchen safety awareness that we could share. So we had the chance to share my story and be able to kind of give advice to others out there. And I think it's especially important because I do have a toddler that likes to get into absolutely everything. And so helping other parents raise awareness, especially because, as you know, when you're a kid, like it's more of a lifelong recovery because you're growing and you're getting big. And so being able to adapt is even harder, I think, than an adult may have. So yeah, we're excited. We're sharing a lot about what's going on. And then Orlando Health also just started the Journey Forward program with Phoenix. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I don't think I've talked too much about the program on the podcast, but essentially last year we began piloting this Journey Forward program. So if you remember, if you've been a long time Phoenix Society, Stan, you kind of remember our Journey Forward kits. They were like those blue packages, and we sent some goodies in there. Well, what we found out was, one, we're not a fulfillment center, so sending the actual kits was really challenging for us. We don't even have an office anymore. We're completely remote, so inventory was tough. So now we've shifted that program more into a digital model where, we're sending based on where the survivors are at in their phase. They're getting a bunch of different resources based on who they are, where they are in their journey, what they're looking for. As a child, my parents, for example, had no idea where to start to help me navigate the healing journey versus, someone like you who you're an adult when your burn injury happened and you're navigating something different. So it's all digital now. We also have some really great benefits for the hospitals that are joining. So if you're a burn care professional or you work at a hospital, you can get your ABA verification through the Journey Forward program. We're offering CEUs to the nurses. So it's not just for the survivors and caregivers. Obviously, we want to help them in their healing journey, but there's also some wins for the hospital as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Orlando just started. We have a few more hospitals coming on board this year. So it's really exciting to get that program up and running.
That's inspiring. And I'm glad to hear it's helping more survivors, because I do know, at the time, especially even with COVID, you felt alone quite a bit, right, in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so giving the resources in that format is really an exciting opportunity. I also know you're not always ready to get resources. And so that's one of the conversations I had with the Orlando Health team is why I love Girls with Grafts so much, because you don't have to have a conversation with someone at all times. If you just want to sit in your hospital bed and listen and kind of have your own conversation with us, you can do that without feeling like there's a commitment to, share your feelings. You're hearing ours, the folks that we interview. So really exciting there.
No, I know. And, a lot of the times, like you said, you're not ready, or also this program is, trying to solve I don't even know where to begin. Like, I do need support and resources, but how, I don't know. There's so many questions. I have so many unanswered things. So we're hoping to solve that as well. But yeah, it's exciting, just kind of in the past, since COVID, with, the work we're doing with Journey Forward, the podcast, we have so many, we have Spanish Phoenix Soar now, which is really exciting. It's just, kind of crazy when you think back just over the past 5 years alone, how much, we've changed and how much, we're trying to be more accessible to our community.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe that we've had this many seasons of Girls with Grafts. We started it, I think, on just like a hope and a prayer, right? 6 seasons ago.
Yeah, I remember you were, I think we just had like a check-in here, and you were like, should we start a podcast? And I was like, sure. I mean, seems like an easy way for us to be putting out content, but in a new format for, like you said, like, some folks don't like sitting and reading an article. Some folks don't and aren't ready to meet someone one-on-one or even virtually. And I mean, we're both big fans of podcasts. So it was a natural yes from us.
Yeah. And I think I had like a logo, a name, and just, okay, this is how we're going to do it in a matter of like an afternoon. And we, pitched it out, and here we are 6 seasons later. So exciting to just see where it's gone. It's funny because I'll meet folks in the burn community that are like, oh, I've listened to your podcast. And I'm like, you what? Because you forget that there are people listening on the other side of this. We're not just doing this we are doing it for fun, but it is one of those things where you forget that there's folks listening on the other end of the podcast at all times. And within the podcast itself, right, there's a lot of different formats. If you want to watch on YouTube, if you want to watch on social media, you can also listen on any podcast platform that you want to listen on. So whether you're watching us or you're listening and you've stuck with us for all of these seasons, it is always a pleasure, and we appreciate it very much.
Yes. And I always love to mention too, on YouTube, you can auto-generate captions in other languages. I know sometimes reading, it doesn't always translate perfectly. It's not always the best experience, but it is a start in the right direction for us to get some more, resources out there. So if you are someone who knows someone who could use this, but maybe they're not an English speaker, that's always another option as well.
That's also scary because I feel like I talk so fast sometimes that who knows what YouTube thinks I'm saying.
I know. It is probably bad at some points, but hopefully it can be a good start. But it's funny you brought up like how, people will be like, oh, I listen, and we kind of forget that part. Well, next week I'm headed to the American Burn Association's annual meeting, and there's people all the time that come up to our booth, because I'm always at the Phoenix Society booth. That's basically why I go. And they'll be like, either like, your voice sounds familiar, or like, oh, I know you. You're on the podcast. And I'm like, love to hear that. But it's just so funny that people...
And I get all embarrassed because I'm like, oh my gosh, do you listen? We've done this for so long, and I forget that there are people that are listening that I haven't had the chance to meet yet.
For sure. Yeah, same here. But, I love that we have so many burn care professionals who listen.
Same.
Because they, want to hear from the survivor perspective. They want to hear from what could make their practice better. What made, when we always share like, oh, this one nurse has really stuck with me throughout my whole journey. Like, I'll never forget them. Things like that. So, it's always important to share your story, whether you're coming on the podcast or, you're sharing it in a Facebook group or in our open mic. You can teach a lot through that too.
Yeah, I definitely, I appreciate the folks that were burned that were listening, that were nurses, but also the burn survivors that have joined us and told their story. But we've also it's not been limited to that either. I actually was just on Facebook and saw that note from Gina about our hair replacement folks, and really cool that we're making some good change right in the community. Folks are listening, they're inspired, and they're going on and helping us make some real change. So that is always something I love to see, is that not only are you listening, but you're taking action as a result, right? So are you doing the things that we've asked or talked about on the show, like helping us make some real change? So that always warms my heart to see that we're not just talking, we're making some change on the podcast, which is my ultimate goal. And I think that's why I started it, right? Is not to make any crazy movements and strides, but just if we can help one person. And that was kind of my goal. If one person listening, whether it's a survivor, a nurse, or a doctor, can listen and go, oh, I can do this better, or I can, I feel more inspired to get up and get out there and share my story. That was ultimately kind of my goal when thought about putting this together.
For sure. What are some of the, maybe, I guess, your favorite guest or one of the top guests that maybe we've had on that you can't forget, or something like that?
I hate pinpointing, but I do have a favorite guest, and he comes on every now and then, and he's my favorite every time because he's so goofy, and I think you know who I'm going to say, but I absolutely love JR, and every time he's on, he always makes me laugh out loud. So I would say I love to laugh, as you know. So I think that's why JR is just so funny, but he's also very inspiring. Feel like he is just really good at motivating people. I need him as like my training coach, right? To like get me up and get motivated. So JR, shout out to you because he's just so fun and always keeps me going. Plus I love Dancing with the Stars. So yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, JR is always fun. Some of my favorites are, honestly, when I learn something from our guest, or I get to take away something, this is like healing for me just as much as it is for our listeners.
1,000%.
I'm blanking on her name. She was the woman
the Sleep Girl.
Oh,
she was one of my favorites.
She was good. No, this is the woman from Telgian. Is it Pamela Reno? I don't know.
I never know names.
She was the fire coding like specialist.
Okay. Yes.
Who was like
anytime we have like NFPA, fire safety, any of those, I'm always like, and then I always leave the podcast and I yell at my husband, like, we don't have this. We haven't checked our things in this line. And my husband's always like, okay. But yes, anytime we have fire safety on is like always one of my favorites because it gives like actual, like you said, action to like go do something about it.
Yeah, those are always fun. Plus, I mean, every survivor and caregiver we've ever had on is always just fun to. I say fun. I guess it's not per se a fun.
It's not always fun to share your story.
Yeah, but it's always, I guess, nice to like meet someone else and learn more about another survivor's journey. And even for, like I said at the beginning, you and me have such different stories, but we have so many commonalities, and I think that's we always say you're not alone. And when I hear a story that doesn't have anything to do to relate to mine, but we have this like common chronic concern or, one thing that really helped us in our healing, it's always fun. So
1,000%. I also think that all of our guests come on our show and they always are, and it's not funny, but like they always come, they're always so nervous. And I'm like, listen, calm down. You're okay. And like, I feel like after the end of the show, they're always like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I'm like, exactly. Like we're not those type of people this is a very unscripted show. We have some like talking points, but, it always makes me laugh at like how, sometimes folks get really nervous before they come on and I'm like, listen, we're recording this. It's not, you're okay. Like you're not going to, don't freak out about it. But it always is one of those things I think where we get nervous before we get onto a show and then we realize, oh, okay, we're just having a conversation. And that's what most of the podcast is.
Yep. No, and it's also funny because I'll do a lot of like the outreach and getting our episodes scheduled. And always, it's without a doubt, our burn care professionals that we have on always want a list of questions beforehand. They're like, what topics? We want to make sure we're prepared, which I love, and
appreciate.
Yes, but I don't send them, spoiler alert to any future guests. I never send you all of our questions because our questions are going to change because like Amber said, we're casual, unscripted for the most part. And
I feel like I'm most likely to go rogue. Like if we were going to have a like most likely to, I'm always the one that's like off in left field. So I get the award for most likely to go rogue, and I don't do the scheduling and the question. So I feel like that's where we're at with that.
Yes, but we've both, I will say, gotten so much better at doing this. Not saying our first season was bad, but our natural flow has gotten so much better. And if you've been a listener since season 1, I'm sure you have heard the difference.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Like I said, back in like season 1, I used to be like, okay, this is Amber's question to ask, and then it's my question, and then it's
Amber's. And then and now it's very much like, okay, I'm gonna steal that question from you, so get your own.
Or like they already answered that question, we're moving on to the next one.
Yeah, it's much less scripted now, I think, than it was. I mean, we still have some talking points that we can have a conversation about, but
for sure. Well, I know we've been chatting for a while about our burn injury, but you mentioned Survivor earlier, and I do want to talk about our loyal listeners will know that we are reality TV stans on this podcast. So Let's talk about what we're watching right now. Let's talk a little reality TV.
To be honest, I haven't watched a ton of reality TV. I am watching Survivor, and I am all in. Like I said, I like 8 o'clock. My husband knows. I'm like, if he's not in bed by 8 o'clock, the AirPods are in, and you can leave me alone. So, Survivor. I just finished Traitors. Did you finish Traitors?
Yes. So, spoiler alert, we may mention something, but it's been like over a month now. People, if you're true watcher,
I just watched the last episode. It took me that long, but
I
was happy.
You're happy?
I love Dylan Efron.
I also love Gabby. Like Gabby.
I do also love Gabby.
I watched her Bachelorette season, and I haven't really like kept up with her since. I've kind of been more out on The Bachelor and Bachelorette.
I follow her on the gram, and I like her on the gram too.
But she is hilarious. I saw a comment that was like, "We made the right person famous," and I was like, "We did." Even though I had nothing to do with the show, but we did make the right person famous.
Yep. She's amazing. I love Dylan Efron. And so I was very pleased with the winning. I was really not in it for Danielle, and I really didn't. What's the blonde chick's name?
Brittany.
I didn't want her. Brittany could not win.
No.
I just was like, no, ma'am. So I was very happy.
Because we also love Big Brother on the show. And those are like our Big Brother gals. But I mean,
they could not win. They were terrible at their game. The
Traitors, I hope this season teaches future Traitors that regardless if you like each other or not, just work together as tough as it may be. Because all season, the Traitors got out because the Traitors went after each other.
They turned it on each other. Yep. And I love Boston Rob. Like he's my ride or die when it comes to reality TV, but he shot himself in the foot on that one. So
yeah. I mean, at this point, I feel like if he's going on a show, he is just going on he's going to make it he's not here for a long time, but he's here for a good time. And he's going to do whatever he can in that short period of time to have good TV and
cause absolute chaos.
Yeah. Well, speaking of another Bravo show, or reality TV show is Bravo, and Sierra from the Traitors or from Summer House was on the Traitors, and her and Boston Rob, you know how in that one episode where they're getting like all the bugs on them and stuff.
Yes.
They were talking about like the chicken parm or a veal parm. They went out after their reunion to dinner together and got the parm that they were talking about from the restaurant. I was like, and I
could never eat bugs like that. Like as gross as things have been with brine burn injury, there's no way I would ever eat a bug.
I would eat a bug. I mean, if I'm on like a competition show or like I'm going to get paid to do it, do it.
Maybe we need to apply for Amazing Race together. That I've needed an Amazing Race partner, so maybe that's what we need to do is apply for Amazing Race together.
Yeah, I think I would be awful at the Amazing Race though, because my sense of direction is just so bad.
But I could do the challenges. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I could climb. Like I'm always yelling at the TV whenever someone's doing something dumb. Like. Yeah. On the challenges, like, why would you do that? Or that there was like a drum one the other day where they were like drumming and it took like 17 tries for the guy to get the drum cadence correct.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like screaming at the television, like, why are you like, I have rhythm. So if there was any musicality issues, like I'd be able to have that one under control, but
you could have been like Tom Sandoval on that Traitors with the
easily my favorite episode. I was crying I was laughing so hard. I was like, this made the entire show, and I don't like him.
No, I hate him.
Yep, I don't like him, but he made me happy on that episode. So
I was just so happy because he was getting close to the end, and I was like, I swear, if he wins this money, I'm going to be so angry. But he lasted long enough to the point where we got to laugh at him.
He was so funny, and he was so good. Like he was so good at making everyone laugh.
He was so good at the lullabies that it was that funny. And then the best part too is when he like was like, Ivar, come here and hold the phone. And Ivar like goes over there and Alan's like, what are you doing? Just be your own man.
Yes. It was the best episode on the Traitors by far. Yes. Survivor has gotten very good. I'm all in on that. Like I said, I don't watch The Bachelor much anymore either. I will say that I know this is off reality TV, but I stand by I don't know if I've said this previously, but I continue to stand by the fact that Apple TV has the best television out there right now. I mean, it's just in general. So if you don't watch Apple TV, you're missing out.
I just signed up because I got a new phone and I waited till the last possible second because I was like, oh, I don't need like the free trial of Apple TV. Well, I just signed up and Brett and I want to watch Severance. I know we're a little late to the game and we haven't quite started yet.
It is the best television on right now. Like Severance, I could tell you Severance is my favorite. We just started watching Surface and we're on season 2 of that. That's very good. Shrinking, if you've never seen that, amazing. Ted Lasso's coming back for season 4. So if you've never seen Ted Lasso, I don't even want to talk to you because that is like the best show of all time. There's so many I watch. And the one with Reese Witherspoon too. That's the morning show is really good.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Okay. Well, you have to catch up. Like there are so many good television shows on Apple TV that we just continue. Like I will watch anything on Apple TV just for the fact that it's Apple TV because it is so good. And I have to this day have not been Dark Matter is another good one. I to this day have not been disappointed by anything I've watched on there. So I stand by my statement. So you gotta give me a Severance update the next time.
I will. We're gonna start. Brett's parents, my in-laws, have recently moved. They're close to us now, which I'm really excited about. But Brett's been doing a lot of house projects with his dad.
I'm like, good, go. So I can sit by myself and watch TV.
Well, but I know. Well, I was like, sorry, I can't help on Wednesday nights. Like I'm available any other weeknight, but if you need my help, it's the weekend or not Wednesdays because I want to watch Survivor because I'll get spoiled. Like Survivor, I don't watch most TV shows live because I
don't either, and I hate commercials.
Yeah. But Survivor is the one I normally start a little late so I can fast forward a little. But
Same.
I'll get spoiled the next day. And then I'll be honest, when you know the winner or the loser, it's just not fun to watch. I mean, it's still fun, but it's just like I'm less invested.
Yeah, I have to know. And then I can't go on Instagram because I'll see the winner and all of that. So I will tell you another spoiler with Apple TV. So my husband and I discovered that if the show is to drop on like say a Friday, 9 p.m. the night before it drops. So Severance, they're still dropping episodes and they drop the new episode at 9 o'clock the night before. So Wednesdays are Survivor, but my husband and my son has to be in bed by like 8 o'clock on Thursday nights because at 9 o'clock, we're both sitting in front of the TV, like glued to Severance. So another fun fact there is that they drop them at 9 o'clock on Thursday.
I love that. Well, good to know. I mean, we'll have some catching up to do, but if we ever get caught up in time, I'll make sure we're watching a day early.
For sure. Well, I think that this has been a really fun episode. So I thank everyone for sticking with us, even through our reality TV junk. But we always ask each other ask 2 final questions. So we'll do some rapid fire here. If you could give anyone a piece of advice or encouragement after a burn injury, what would it be?
Yeah, it's funny because you would think I'd be prepared to answer this right away, and I still have to think about it for a second. I feel like my advice generally will change, but today's piece of advice will be just know that you're not alone. We say that all the time. I already mentioned on this podcast, but it is so true. Like you are not alone. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to go through it alone. Whether you're ready to dive deep and get connected, great. But if you can only read a resource, we have a peer support chat. You don't even have to be on video. Don't even have to type. You can just listen or I guess read what others are saying, listen to the podcast, whatever it may be. But yeah, just know you're not alone in this. What about you?
Well, one of the things I didn't update us on is I recently got a Peloton tread and I've been running a lot.
I'm so jealous.
And it's amazing. But I've been inspired by Jess King. Have you ever taken Jess King classes?
Yeah.
She's amazing. And she's always like she's a fighter. And so I think that was like my piece of advice. And I think that's why I love her so much. It's because I'm a fighter, right? Like, so not giving up on, like, if someone tells you no, right? Like, don't be afraid to like continue to fight or seek other options. I hear that a lot. I think like, oh, well, I didn't know this was an option. Like for me, it was like, I'm not taking that as an answer. I don't believe that I can, that's not the only thing. And so I'm going to ask more questions and seek more answers and not just give up on something because someone tells you no. So I would say continue to fight, because I think my journey was not always easy. And there were times where I had to ask the hard questions or say, okay, what are my options? And sometimes I think we just think, okay, that, I'm just going to take that for face value. There's nothing else I can do. There are resources, especially with the Phoenix Society. So I think if maybe you don't like an answer or you're needing some additional support on something, don't always take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer, and just kind of look for other options. If there's something available that we can help you with, I think that's always important. And fighting for survivors' rights. I think that's another big topic on this show. So yeah, not giving up. I think that's a big theme and continues to be a theme for me. So I think about that a lot when I'm like running, right? Like I can do this, I can do hard things. And I think that's what's really important, is to kind of get back there and fight for it.
For sure. Great advice. Well, our final question is always our Phoenix partner question. Today, that was sponsored by Summit Fire and Security. So what is one thing you hope listeners take away from our chit chat today?
Hopefully not anything about reality TV. To watch Severance. Get Apple TV or Amber will not be your friend. I would say, I think it's really important. I hope if there's parents listening, I talked about this with Orlando Health too, of like, practice kitchen safety. And it's not just for kids, like dogs too. My dogs were below me during my accident, and thank God they didn't get hot caramel on them. Like, keep the kids and the dogs out of the kitchen. Like, those are things that you could trip on, fall. So like, just practice safety. It's so important. Hot liquids. Like, I'm always so mindful. Okay, I'm like putting this in the oven. Is there anything or anyone around? Like, let me put the gates up. And so I think that's just a really important element. If like, you can get burned, not just from a fire, you can get burned from scald. There's many different ways that burn injuries happen. And so I think, especially when you have kids and dogs involved, for me, it's like, okay, it's one thing that happened to me, but I would be remiss if it had to happen to someone like my son. And I, because of that, have learned, like, I never want that pain to have been like an experience that he experiences. So, if there's parents listening, that's what my piece of advice would be.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, for me, I hope our listeners just realize how much we love doing the show. We take so much from this, and we hope you do as well. Obviously, I hope everyone listens to all of our episodes, but you don't always have to. Take what you can, take what you need. But yeah, I just hope that they, not that I think we're like celebrities up here, but I hope people realize,
You're definitely not,
how much we enjoy the show, how much we also need the show as well. And it's just,
it's definitely recovery for me as well. It's continued support from our community. So, and as always, like, we love to hear your feedback. Like, who do you want on the show? I think that's always like something that I love, is like, who do you want on the show? What questions are we not asking? What support are we not giving? So, let's definitely put that in the show notes or leave it in the comments of like, how can we help you? We're 6 seasons in, and there's got to be something that we haven't touched on yet. So,
for sure.
Other than Apple TV.
What shows we should be watching?
If you want to just tell us what shows we should be watching, please also put that in the comments, because I need some new ones.
Awesome.
All right. Well, it was great. A pleasure as always, Rachel, to be your co-host. So,
yes, thank you. Thanks so much for a fun episode today.
all right. See ya. Bye everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Girls with Grafts. If you are enjoying this content, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.